Oh, welcome to my FJ. Today's problem, we got a noise coming from underneath the dash. Whenever you start her up, after a few seconds there's a grinding noise, followed by whenever you shut it off there's also an accompanying grinding noise, and I'll show you what that's all about. But first we're going to show you what was making the grounding noise. And first, I'll show you, we took apart the glove box here, and this cover trim, which literally is just a couple screws and clips to take these parts off the wiring harness, and getting the tray out is pretty easy. So once you're in here, then we get into the meat of her. So this is your fan box. Underneath, you can see, is the fan motor. So we have the fan motor right here. Over there, tucked up in the that little black thing there, I'm pretty sure that's your fan resistors for your fan speeds. So when you turn the from low to high, there's resistors in there in the airflow that get cooled off and allow the fan to go with different speeds. And then to control it, what they've done is they've used these. There's one here, there's another one tucked up here, and then there's a third one, which is kind of hard to see. Let me see if I get some light on there. It's tucked, oh boy, it's tucked way back in there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Maybe there's the three of them. And what this one, let's see, it's hard to see. If you can see that in the back, that one does this door. This is the recirculating door. So when you turn it on, the recirculation button, this guy here, when you turn that on, it'll actuate this blend door and it'll flip open. I'm not sure if you can see inside there. There's the outdoor access, and it'll close it down and it'll suck air from the top and recirculate. Then you have this one here. What that one does is that's your, I'm pretty sure that's your temperature blend. So it will blend the hot and cold air to produce the temperature you need. And then lastly at the top is called the actual blend actuator. I'm not sure why I called that one a blend door. It's a hot and cold actuator, and this is your blend door. So what it does is when you rotate for your different settings, so defrost, floor, the straight at you ones, it'll adjust. There's a series of gears inside that will adjust which way that it blows through the ducting. So this actuator was making noise, and basically what I did to bypass it was I disconnected the wiring harness. There's this this connector here, just tucks up up here and clicks in there. So basically I just disconnected that and it stopped all the moaning and groaning. What I first did was I selected the defrost and floor setting. That way when the vehicle was running, at least it would defrost and give me some air conditioning in the cab. So it was still working, it was still moving, but it was making a hell of a noise. So I'm gonna duplicate that noise, and so you can hear what was going on. We're gonna turn it on. So it's rotating back and forth. You can see in here the little gears are moving back and forth. It doesn't quite know where it's supposed to be. So we're going to change the mode. It's moved again. So we have it on down. Now we're going to change it again. And you can see it slides over. Now it's really making noise. Now we're going to move it even more. So we're going to put it back. And it seems to be right there. We have it on full defrost, and it's finally quiet. So the other thing about this, I'm going to shut that off. We shut the power off, and we're going to shut the key off. And what this does is, after about 30 seconds or whatever, after you shut the key off, it'll go into a closed state. And it does this every time you shut the car off. And I think that's why this particular one tends to fail. And we're just going to wait until it happens. There, see how it's gone to full close, or it's trying to go to full close. And it does that for a few seconds and then shuts off finally. So that's its park position once you shut it off. And I'm not sure why it does that, but it does that. And so at this point, we're going to try and swap out this module, which I bought off Rock Auto, and I hope it's the right model. It's the one that's called the blend door. And on Rock Auto, it was they only had 2 that were available. This one always seemed to be out of stock. It came in stock and they only had 3 available, so I ordered it right away. I've been waiting for it to come around for about a month, and it finally did. So I'm pretty sure that this is the one that keeps failing all the time. And I think the other one that they sell is that one down there. And I'll make you a bet that the one that's tucked away in there is probably identical to that one. Anyway, so to get this one out, we have 3 screws and a bracket that hold it in place. And this is really where I'm cursing Toyota. You can see the one screw is there. It's quite easy. The second screw is up there, and that's pretty simple. The third screw, if you can follow that bracket, it actually goes down. It's in a horrible spot. It's actually behind this white piece here. This is where the air filter, the cabin filter is. It's literally a straight shot from about this point in this way, and they're Phillips head screws. So that's my dilemma right now, is trying to get that that screw out. I know I can get the other two fairly easily with various screwdrivers or whatever I have. I have a few things to help me out. I have this flexible screwdriver. I also have this guy, which I bought from Princess Auto, and unfortunately this one is absolutely horrible. It's very difficult to turn, so I'll show you in a second. When you get in there, you kind of have to hold on to this while you hold on to the shaft of this Robertson with your two fingers, because that's the only thing you can get it, get it up there, and try and ratchet it out. So this one didn't work very good. It was cheap. It came in a kit. So I eventually went back and I picked up this ratchet, and it's a similar one, a little better quality, solid aluminum, and the ratcheting mechanism is much more precise. You can hear the difference. So I'm going to give this one a try. And okay, so we're gonna, now that we've got it in the park location, keys out, I'm just gonna remove this, and that's, to remove this you just have to push that little clip, little release tab there, and lift it straight up. And I had to remove this, this was attached through that anchor there, this was attached to this anchor here, and it's pulled, just pried those out of the way. Now to get to that screw was extremely difficult. I tried it with the terrible ratchet, and it wasn't working very good. But to find it, I actually went in with an endoscope that I got off of eBay. They're super cheap, and actually I got one right here. I can show it to you. This is the endoscope. So it's just a wire that plugs into your cell phone or tablet, and it's got a small head. It's waterproof, has LEDs on it, and you just load the app on it, and you can pretty much, it's get into where you need to see, because I couldn't see where I was working and what I was actually looking for. And I even drilled a hole here to try and have access to it or see it, and I ended up taking out the air filter, and there's a slit where the air filter goes in, and you can actually see the head. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's way in there. You can see the head of the Phillips head screw, and there's nothing worse trying to find trying to aim one of these things at something that you can't see. So basically, you would get this in here like that, and line it up, and there. So it's in, and then you would hold your hand underneath, get two fingers under there, and try and get it out. So the camera's in my way, so I got to stop it, and literally you just sit there and you would rock this back and forth and unscrew it. I hope you're seeing that. So yeah, and that's how you get her out, but I gotta get in there a little bit closer, and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, we managed to get that screw almost all the way out. You can see there, it's just about out. That's a hard thing to see in there. I actually cut, there we go, cut the, what I ended up doing is I cut this piece off. Now this is a support bracket for this whole unit, and there's plenty of meat around it, and the filter only has a piece that comes, it's a thin piece that goes top to bottom. The opening circle here is actually for holding this, which I think at the end of the day I'm gonna just zip tie that in place when I'm finished so it doesn't rattle around. But now I can see it much better, and I'm gonna try and get in there with this guy and see if I can get that screw the rest of the way out. So I'll let you know how that goes, and then we're going to attack the one way up here, which I should be able to use a small screwdriver with and a normal screwdriver for the other screw, and we'll pull it out and see how it goes. Finally, oh god. Okay, what I ended up doing, once I got it out far enough, I took this like really super long screwdriver I have, and it's got a really fine point, and I just tucked it in there in that slot, and I managed to just kind of twist it to get it out. When I put it back in, I'm going to be looking for the same size screw, but a Robertson head, because these Phillips are a pain in the ass. Robertson will, the square ones, they'll lock onto the drill, or lock onto the bit, and won't come off. So it's got 2 more screws to go, and once I get those out, we'll pull the unit out, and hopefully everything will come out okay. Okay, finally got that last screw out, and we're just gonna pull this unit out and see what is in there. Wow, okay. Just a quick look at what's in there. And get some light in there. A piece that rotates, and then there's another piece that rotates over there. So it looks like there's 2 doors, and then there's a third one down here. So I'm gonna have to try and get all of these lined up with this. It looks like there's something that's holding this piece onto the actuator, and I'm hoping it'll just pop off. Let's give that a try.
You figured it out.
Nope.
To get this guy off, there's a little tab just inside the bottom here. I don't know if you can see it. So you got the half D, or the D side, and then there's a little tab. And if you look at this guy, there's a little indent right there, so it slides on and snaps in place. So what we're going to do is get in here with a screwdriver and try and bend that tab without breaking it while pushing out on, there it goes, and it's come off. That's awesome. So what I can do now is I'm going to re-lubricate this, put it on, and when I slide this guy in, it should snap in place when I slide it on, because I kind of want to get this aligned before I put the actuator on it. Okay, I'm going to swap this guy out, and what I'm going to do is just undo these 3 screws and put this one in its place, and we'll go from there. So the one thing that they included in the kit was to not actuate these directly. Apparently they say don't put 12 volts on there and try and rotate it yourself. You'll damage the sensitive electronics inside. Okay, I get it. And I'm going to actually, when I'm finished, I'm going to tear this guy open and we're going to see what makes these things run and how they work inside. This is a Denso part. For those who are playing at home. Part 063700-8860, and this is the original one made in Japan that we've taken out that doesn't work anymore. And if you notice, if we align this correctly, the one I've taken out, remember I stopped it, and in the stop position where it actually shuts, it closed all the way, and it's in this like pointing to 11 o'clock direction, whereas this one is kind of pointing towards like an 8 o'clock direction. So I'm going to put the actuator, the door actuator gear controller on, and I'm going to rotate that to match this, and then I'm going to lock it in place. I'm hoping that it's going to rotate the proper way and do what it's supposed to do. I think these only have a 90-degree rotation anyway, so this one, if it's going to rotate, I'm thinking it's going to rotate this way. Anyway, we'll find out when we get it going. Okay, one thing I managed to pick up over the years is this lubriplate grease. It's a motor assembly grease, and this stuff is like white soft body grease, smooth anti-wear, anti-seize coating. When I was working on window actuators and needed to lubricate the window tracks, this is the stuff the guy at Napa says this is the stuff that everyone uses. So this grease is still not bad. It's still greasy, but I'm going to add a little bit of lubriplate to it and then kind of mix it around, and we'll get it lubed up a little bit better here. You can see it's really slippery stuff, and that's kind of what we want in here. We just want to give it every chance. Don't want to put too much in there. Just want to coat the tracks and make sure that they run smoothly and there's no binding. Okay, that's pretty good. Great, so this unit sat like this, and if we look, it sat like this, and if we look, it's almost straight across. So this, to fit in there, is going to have to go literally like that. That makes more sense. And so we'll try and put that in that way. Okay. And there we go. Let's just rotate these and make sure that they move freely. And they do wonderfully freely. All right. So what I'm going to do now
try and line up the new actuator, which has to go in like that. Let's pull back a bit here. These things are always in the way. Hope you can see past those. These guys are a pain in the ass. Okay, so this has to go with the connector side up, and if we look, that is kind of going in a direction like that, so it's almost exactly where it needs to be to fit. So what we're going to do is get this in there. Pop it in and rotate it. Get in there, you. Okay, that's what the problem was. I didn't have the back one in all the way, and it wouldn't rotate the full rotation. So that one's going like almost perfectly left to right at pretty much the end point here, and as we turn it, it just keeps going to almost a vertical up and down here. So there's definitely a full, almost 120 degree rotation, and I think I missed one of the actuators in doing this, or sorry, one of these actuating flapper parts. I think it was the back one I was missing. So now I can rotate it properly and get it in and secure it down with the 3 screws. Okay, time to change out this Phillips screw. It looks like a number 6 by 3/4, and what we're going to do is or number 8 by 3/4. We're going to swap it out with this Robertson square head number 8 3/4, and I got the one in already, and so I got 2 more to go, and I won't bore you with the details. We'll have a look at it when it's done, and we'll plug it in and test it out. Okay, before we button that bottom one up, I want to make sure she's working. So I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to turn the ignition on and see what happens. Here we go. And it moved. And it moved again. All right, it's perfect. You don't know how happy that makes me feel. So, I don't know if you're seeing that. We're going through every setting, and it works perfectly. It's quiet, and it's moving smooth, and everything's good. So now we'll shut it off, and we'll just wait for the timeout and make sure that it fully shuts, and then I'll put that bottom screw in, and then we'll put everything back together. Like I said, this actuator on the edge controls this recirculating damper. Let's see if I can get that in view there. So I'm going to push that recirculating button, and you'll see what happens. goes all the way up and blocks off. So now it's drawing air from inside the cab. And I release that button and it closes up again. So that's that actuator on this recirculating button there. I tested. So everything's together. The Robertson screw worked really well. And so I'm just going to put it back together. This part here, that part, this part, all these locks, I'm actually just going to zip tie them all in place. The air filter, cabin air filter, will go back into place, and then we'll put the cover trim, which fits across here. It just snaps into place. I took these guys off. When you go to take these off, this is the clip that holds them in place. They slide in to a groove, and you just get in there with a screwdriver and just kind of lift it up, and it'll pop these out. You can just slide them out. So that's how you get this one, and this one off, and gives you better access. So anyway, there you go. Everything works, and that's out of the way. So I hope this helps everyone. We're going to open this up and have a look. Basically it's just clips all around the outside. We'll pull it off. There we go. So we got the primary gear, the motor, which looks like it was dancing around a little bit there. It could just be when I pulled it out. It's got a motor supports with a little bit of grease there, so I'm assuming that we'll probably holding that in place. So we'll pull out the main gear. Oh, it's got brushes on it. Sorry, wipers. And that is interesting. Look at that. Just clean some of this off. If you'll notice, right here, you have the wipers, and those are sending a voltage back. These are resistive traces, so the farther it goes, it changes the resistance on it. And you'll notice that the inner track and the outer track have actually worn into the plastic, so it's actually worn through their resistive tracks, and so when it goes and tries to find its location, it can't, because the voltages keep changing on its resistance. So the resistance keeps changing as it hunts back and forth. So that is interesting. That's why it kept hunting, it kept looking, and it would, once it starts doing that, it'll just keep doing that. So that is not really repairable. Well, they do have kits that you can repair these with, but for the 35 bucks I spent for the replacement unit, it's not worth it really. Well, it acts like a potentiometer, so you have a voltage, a ground, and a wiper in between the two, so I'm assuming that's what is going on there. It's basically a potentiometer, and you have
another gear, and another gear. And they actually look in really good shape. There's no broken teeth or really any wear. So we'll pull the motor out. It looks fine. It was the motor's just sitting on these electrical contacts, making contact. They just kind of snap into place. So yeah, so very straightforward.